The other thing that's so important to us, of course, is our national forest, the Ottawa National Forest and Northern Great Lakes Forest, and our water. And you know, again, I grew up in northern Lower Peninsula. I grew up in a little town called Clare, which has a big sign out front. If you're driving up I-75, that says Gateway to the North. And I realized the first time I ever came to the UP that I probably shouldn't say that, because Clare's not exactly the gateway to the north. So, the bridge is the gateway to the north. But, you know, I grew up in a little town where we spent most of our time outside, you know, and whether it was the forest, whether it was hunting, fishing, boating, snowmobiling, and I love to come up and snowmobile in the UP. But, you know, this is our way of life. And so, for me, doing what I can not only to protect our forests and our water, our land, our Great Lakes, and also to make sure they're accessible, so that you know they're accessible to folks to use. And those things are very important to me. And when I think about the fact that of what we've seen down in the Gulf with the oil spill and the horrible mess that happened, I was reminded that the first thing I passed in 2001 as a senator, as a new senator, was a ban on oil and gas drilling in the Great Lakes. And I'm very glad I did that because we need to protect. Can you imagine if something like that had happened in Lake Superior? So, I mean, we want to have access to drilling for oil and natural gas, and that's fine. But in my judgment, it is not worth it in the Great Lakes. We need to be protecting the Great Lakes. So, so that I'm very, very passionate about that. And then, just a couple of things to mention. I work, as I said before, everything I see through the prism of jobs, manufacturing, and I don't buy that we can't make things in America anymore. I mean, if we have fair trade, level playing field on trade, we can compete with anybody. And if we have support and partnerships with universities, community colleges, local, state government, federal government, with business, so we're partnering together to create innovation and to support private industry, we can do anything. So we've been through a tougher time than any place else in this country. We've been in a deeper recession, deeper, longer than any other place. But what I see, first of all, is that even though times are tough, so are we. We're a tough bunch. And if we work together, rather than everybody going to their corners, you know, if we work together and really focus, we can get out of the hole. And in fact, we're starting to. We're starting to see that. Everywhere I go, people tell me, it's not great, but orders are up. You know, business is up, or tourism was up this year. And so we're beginning to see some changes. Not enough, way too slow, but we're beginning to see it. And some of that relates to, again, what we have done in investing through the Recovery Act and some other areas to partner to create jobs. Battery technology money that we have partnered with the federal government and companies to make those advanced batteries for those new vehicles here in this country. And I was thrilled to see that out of a $2 billion investment for the country, that Michigan got $1.3 billion of it, which is the ratio I'd like on every federal program. But I told the president that. So, but the reason was that federally, you know, the administration said, you know what, Michigan ought to be the place to do this. We're the automobile capital. We ought to be the place that does advanced batteries. And we're now going to be, in the next 5 years, going from making 2% of the world's advanced battery technology to 40%. Just with a partnership, you know, and because that money stimulated a whole bunch of private sector investment. Same thing with other clean energy manufacturing. We just passed 3 weeks ago a really important small business bill, a new law that really goes to the heart of where the majority of the jobs are, which is small business. The majority of jobs we've lost are in small business. The majority of the jobs that are coming back are in small business. Even in manufacturing, most of our jobs are not in GM, Ford, Chrysler. It's in their suppliers. It's small business, medium-sized businesses making the parts. And so The biggest concern I've heard from small business is lack of access to capital. You know, when the crisis came on Wall Street and all of that happened, credit dried up, and then community banks who didn't get any help, but, you know, Wall Street didn't turn around and work with them and lend, but they got a lot of new regulations. So they were told don't lend. We're saying lend, they were told don't lend by the regulators. So we have addressed that with a new small business jobs law that creates a new partnership for lending with community banks. That's going to be taking effect in the next few weeks. We're strengthening the Small Business Administration. SBA has been making a number of loans now under this new law in the last couple of weeks in the UP. We've increased what you can lend for. You can do refinancing. You can, you know, we broaden it to help folks that are in bad economic times. And we've also added a piece so that if you have equipment and you, it's lost value, like most folks that own buildings, own equipment, you know, it's gone down in value, so you go to the bank to put it up as collateral, it's not worth as much, so you can't get a loan, or you can't get what you need. And so we have put together something that will allow the states to come in and support and help businesses put up dollars to help businesses get the loans. The other piece of that is 8 different tax cuts for small businesses to get them to invest now in new equipment. Several things that deal with increased write-offs for investments, as well as if you start a new business right now, we've doubled the initial tax cut for writing off your costs. If you're in business by yourself and you and your family buy health insurance, which is the most expensive way to buy it, the new law will allow you to deduct 100% of your costs as an individual small business, and as well as some other changes that we've made. So that law just took effect, and it's going to make a difference in being able to help grow businesesses. And then finally, let me just say I kind of work on healthcare as well, because I see that as jobs. I mean, healthcare costs every year. People talk to me about 20–30% increases in premiums. It hurts businesses, can't expand, have to drop insurance. And the whole point of healthcare reform was to focus on small business, and which I'm happy to talk more about if you'd like to. But in 3 years, when the system's set up, businesses are going to have a way to go to a central place to get big quotes from companies, private sector companies, but their companies are going to be in a position to compete against each other for your business. And we know that that's going to lower costs. And there are also a number of new things. Did we pass out the healthcare timeline, Steve, I think? Did we pass that out? So you've got what takes effect this year. I won't go through all that. But you know, I think it's time for us to be funding health and wellness and quality and saving costs by having people getting the care that they need on the front end. I love the fact that you're so involved with nursing here at the school. We're upstairs looking at what is it, SimMan? SimMan, yes. And it sounds like you should have a uniform, you know, SimMan, you know, it sounds like. But I love that there's such a focus on nursing here, because we desperately need medical professionals. We desperately need more nurses. And there's a huge amount of jobs there as well. So healthcare is not only a moral issue, it's an economic issue in terms of jobs and reducing costs over time. And finally, I would just say that you know, you have a wonderful outpatient clinic here for veterans, and a personal priority for me has been to expand outpatient clinics around the state, so our veterans don't have to drive to get basic services. And we've expanded now to a number of rural places around the state, but that's really important to be supporting our veterans. One of my favorite quotes is from Harry Truman. He said, "America was not built on fear. America was built on courage, on imagination, and the unbeatable determination to do the job at hand." That fits Ironwood, it fits the UP, it fits Michigan. And I think it really fits where we are. You know, it's time, we have to redouble our efforts to work together, to partner together, to figure out, to solve problems. and get things done so that people can have a job, care for their families, have a great Michigan way of life, and feel confident in the future. And that's really what I think is the job for all of us. So thank you very much. I'm happy to take questions. So. Yeah.